And one of the things that came out, and I think might serve your film, is that in every social cause that you're part, or every social movement that you're part, you don't need to abandon that movement in order to actually go for climate justice, because everything is interrelated. Like every social movement is related to the other, and everything is under the vessel of, or under the umbrella of climate justice. So what I'm thinking is that if you look for connections about the just look for connections about the different areas, aspects that are not working in all the different, angles, it would probably help you ground it more than just getting a hold of all these different things that are disconnected and find a way to connect them. Because I found that discussion was very relevant because it brought us all together regardless of what we were championing, right, at the time. So I don't know if that helps.
I really love this comment. Thank you so much. I think that one of the hypotheses that I wanted to explore is it maybe things are not working because there's so many good things, but they are just not connected. But maybe if we connect them in one ecosystem where they're all working together, and then we can measure, and can easily measure, like if people are happy or not, like in a new country. That's kind of, I'm thinking, is like maybe this new country could unite people of the world, can unite different movements. What do you think about this?
Well, where I'm going to is, I want to talk about how it turns into a movie.
Yes.
And not just the ideas of it. So, because I think the ideas are what you explore in the movie, but how do you show it? That's a question for you. How do you show this, and how do you create it? His suggestion was that you go out and you try to make this country. What does that look like, and how do you capture that?
I think it's a good idea. I mean, after all, that's what I started 5 years ago. I started researching what countries I can join, and Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and then Sealand, and then. But yeah, there's so much barriers to join this. So I think it's a good idea. And I mean, like I am a refugee, even though, and I remember like an ad posted by like the UN in one magazine, showing Lego characters, and like they are different. One is a mechanic, one is an engineer, who's a doctor, and they say like refugees could look this like you could not tell if they are refugees or not. They could be anyone. And I'm kind of thinking that maybe this can also solve the problem for fellow refugees who doesn't have like a good reputation around the world in terms of status. I came here with my hard work, thank God. Not because I seek asylum or something, but because the immigration system have point system and stuff. So I think maybe this could offer also like hope for people like refugees worldwide. Or even people who feel refugees in their own countries, like now in Egypt, people are not really happy with what's going on and stuff. So I feel like maybe I should do it. I'm just looking for just like more like a bit of support, like making sure that this is a good journey. Just go and say it. And like now I'm trying to be political, so I'm saying, okay, we're doing a film about starting a new country, and we're not really sure, it's a research, but I guess with your feedback and input, I can say, okay, no, this movie is about this mission of starting a new country, and seeing how can this develop.
I feel like it would be good to have an action, like with Ian's film. The through line is they bike from one thing to the other,
Yeah.
so there was like something that's the spine of it, and I feel like that's what you need, what you're looking for here is like, what is the action, and then all of the outcomes of what happens and how people react to the story and what they get out of it and how it influences society. That you can't really impact as much as doing that through line, and then telling what matters to you around that through line. So that's why I like you saying, like, go do it. Go. The through line could be, is it getting the permits, going and somehow funding, they have, like I do wind energy, they have smaller wind turbines. Is it like getting that and setting up that system and us watching you set up that system, or building some floating thing in international waters? I know this is so huge, but like watching that through line would be really interesting, and then all of it gets filled in with all of the struggles and why does your heart drive you to do this, and you get to see it. And I don't know, yeah, I love the international waters thing. I know we've talked about it before, but I know it's massive.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really tempted to follow like this, and I'm thinking, okay, building a cruise ship or having a cruise ship is so expensive, so we can try the option of trying to have a cruise ship. But I'm thinking also maybe I can go to one of the options, which is having a non-geographical country. So it's a country based on citizens connected online, and it's kind of like couch surfing, where we as a community offer like couches for one another, offer meals for one another based on our contributions. So this is something that I can see the results of. Yes, it doesn't solve the main core problem of country, which is having a land, but in a way it's kind of giving you a bigger family to be part of, and this family could help you like maybe get visa to work in other countries, or maybe help you with your career, or maybe help you like become a decent like citizen.
Actually, I think it was
I almost hesitate to say this because I really liked what she said, and I actually know of something that's happening here in BC. What's happening with the pipelines trying to be pushed through is a lot of the First Nations are actually mobilizing, and they have most of the structure of something called the Squamish Sovereign Nation already created, where we're sitting, all of this is unceded territory.
Mm-hmm.
We're sitting on potentially, another nation right now. And they have almost all the legal framework created to just yank the system out from one of the people involved in this project has already evicted the Queen. He's served papers to her legally, and they're moving to reclaim this part of the world as the Squamish sovereign government. And that's the sort of thing that you need to tack into. Like if you want
Yeah.
a primary action,
Yeah.
like that's the indigenous people of this land going, we signed treaties, some of our ancestors signed treaties, but most of us did not, and we're taking this back because we just find that you're mismanaging the resources, you're harming the earth, you're not giving people control of their own sovereignty. The whole sovereign persons or natural persons movement is they're trying to line in with that, but create a framework so that it's powerful enough that one person isn't standing up in court and improperly challenging the legal framework. So that you have an umbrella organization that will support every person that wants to say, actually, I'm not part of your nation, so your laws don't apply to me. I'm a part of this other entity.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Actually, I have one of the options, like I was saying to John, in Velcrow, but it wasn't like one of the things that I'm gonna like deeply try to focus on. But now I think I should, because
It's an idea.
it's brewing and it's happening.
It seems like a different movie to me.
Mhm.
Someone should make it.
Yeah.
I just want to, I don't know too much about it, but Bitcoin.
Mhm.
So often with a state, there is associated a central bank. With Bitcoin, there isn't a central bank. And so the idea of a virtual online country with virtual online citizenship with a currency of Bitcoin, that's a very curious, because you're starting to have the real political structures there to actually make it some form of reality. Yeah,
I
but
was advised to call it Bitcoin Citizen.
right. Right. Yeah, because there's also, also you've got to think about maybe a constitution, things like that as well.
in the very back, actually.
Yeah, this raises a very interesting discussion about what is a country. A country is essentially a mental construct. It's something that humans have put together. I'm not sure how much of this you try to flesh out in your film or the ideas that you're exploring, but what are countries? What is nationalism? Where did all this come from? I think we have 220 nation states around the world, and it's just a fascinating thing that we've configured. On a borderless planet, we have hundreds of borders. So where did all this come from, and what does it mean? I think investigating that is so rich and wonderful, and I really celebrate that you're doing that. To go into the virtual world, I think is an interesting idea. There's a whole online community called Second Life, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but if you wanted to play with the idea of creating a world virtually, like a mental construct, Second Life would be a fascinating place to go to talk to the citizens, and actually call themselves citizens of Second Life, who engage in commerce and engage in all kinds of daily life, but they do it virtually. So could you create something virtually to flesh out what it might mean in the real world? Or could that be a little place of experimentation? But yeah, well,
Avatar you
Like-
sometimes.
That would be amazing.
also, about 10 years ago, a comedian from England did a series called How to Start Your Own Country
Daniel Wallace, yeah.
in his apartment in England, and he wanted to create a place called Lovely, a micronation. So he played with this idea, but more on the comedic level. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
And there's another wonderful book that I bought years ago that I wanted to make a documentary about called Who Owns the World? And I'm not sure if you're familiar with
No.
this, but it asked the question, who are all the private landowners? So how do nation states equate to private landowners? So I don't know if you want to go into this at all, because I don't know how deeply you want to go into this whole understanding of what is a nation, what is a landowner, what is a private landowner. But Kevin Cahill, who wrote the book, claims that most of the injustice and inequality